Well, Republican Senator Jeff Flake of Arizona finds himself in a singular position during this presidential transition. Senator Flake served with Vice President-elect Mike Pence for over a decade and has called him a close friend. But the senator was also one of the president-elect's sharpest Republican critics during Donald Trump's bid for the White House.
It's not a comfortable position to not support your nominee of the party. And none of us want to be in this position, but there are certain things that you can't do as a candidate, and some of the things he's done, I think, are beyond the pale.
And Senator Jeff Flake of Arizona joins me now from Capitol Hill. Senator, we very much appreciate your time. I want to ask you about the tweet that you sent, your congratulations to Donald Trump there on election night. Obviously, prior to that, you had been highly critical of him during the campaign. So how do you see, if nothing else, the relationship professionally and otherwise between the two of you evolving from here?
Well, elections are elections, campaigns are campaigns, and I obviously didn't support Donald Trump throughout the campaign, but he won. And when he did so, I pledged to work with him as I would have done with Secretary Clinton. So you work with the president. I'm glad that we have a Republican president who can do a lot of things that we need to do, like conservative Supreme Court justices, repeal and replace Obamacare, go after regulations that are hampering the economy. So there are a lot of things that we agree on, and we'll disagree on certain things, certainly, but we can agree on a lot.
We have heard you say that some of the things that he said were beyond the pale. It would seem right. Demonstrators in cities across the country certainly seem to agree with you. Is it possible to simply wipe the slate clean and start fresh?
Well, we have no choice. He was elected president, and he did it fair and square. And so he'll move ahead, and I hope that he puts behind him a lot of the rhetoric that was used. I certainly hope that, and we have to assume the best and look for the good.
Then it seems perhaps you're optimistic that President Trump will be different than candidate
right.
Trump?
Yes, I hope so, certainly.
Is it a cynical commentary then on the 18 months or so that we just saw?
Campaigns are campaigns. Let's face it. Throughout history, there are a lot of things that are said during a campaign that people want to take back on both sides. I'm sure there are things on the other side that were said that the candidates would like to take back. So we move ahead, and I think the President of the United States now, President Obama, has been very gracious, as was Hillary Clinton in defeat, and so let's move ahead.
Senator, you served alongside Vice President-elect Mike Pence for
right.
over a decade. I know you've described him as a friend. What do you make then of the reports of the transition team that he is now leading and that reports suggest is in a state of disarray?
You know, transitions are difficult under the best of circumstances. There are just so many people to put in positions. But when you have somebody who comes in like President-elect Trump, without government experience, an outsider, then it's doubly difficult. So Mike Pence has a big job ahead of him, and let's cut him some slack and give them some space to do what they're doing. And so I'm very confident in Mike Pence. He's a very sharp guy, and he does understand government at all levels, and so I think he'll do a good job. One
thing that has been done then, former Breitbart News executive Steve Bannon has been appointed Donald right. Trump's chief strategist. I know it's a question you've faced a lot here in these last couple of right. days. What do you make of that appointment?
You know, I don't know Steve Bannon at all. I'd never known his name until a few months ago. I haven't studied what he's actually written or the opinions that he's held. Certainly some of the statements or headlines that come out of Breitbart are not something I'd want attributed to me. But again, here, let's give some space and let the president put together his team. I've always believed that the president ought to have a lot of deference putting together his or her team. I voted for Loretta Lynch as Attorney General, although I didn't agree with her philosophically. I thought she was qualified, and I thought President Obama deserved to have his team put together. I feel the same with President-elect Trump.
Senator, as we look towards imminent votes then coming up on the heels of the election, I know you're opposing a proposal that would soften restrictions on earmarks. Why is this right. so very important to you?
You know, I spent years and years in the House fighting against earmarks. They are wasteful and corrupting. In 2006, at kind of the heyday when Republicans were in charge of both chambers in the White House, as we will be come January, there were some 16,000 earmarks spread across the appropriation bills. It led to higher spending everywhere and also led to corruption. A couple of my colleagues ended up in jail. This is not a practice that we want to return to. We were turned out of the majority in 2006, partly because of this insidious practice. And so I hope that we don't return to the trough here at a time that we can ill afford it with a $20 trillion debt, $500 billion deficit every year. We can't afford more wasteful spending.
What sort of fight do you think lies ahead here?
You know, there's always a push to bring back earmarks, particularly from appropriators. It gives them considerable power, and it greases the skids to pass legislation. It also greases the skids to pass bloated appropriation bills that we shouldn't be passing. So there's always going to be that pull to bring earmarks back, and I hope we resist it. In the Senate, we'll try to make this ban permanent, and I hope we can do that.
We will be watching. Senator Jeff Flake of Arizona, very much appreciate the time this morning, Senator.
You bet. Thank you.